Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 83a, top of the page, with the words Lo Mishum Zrut, or Zorus, depending on your pronunciation. Lo Mishum Zorus, V'lo Mishum Tuma, V'lo Mishum Mechus HaBigodim, V'lo Mishum Mechus Yadayim V'Raglayim, neither due to non-priesthood. Zorus. Zarut, meaning being a czar. If a non-priest performs one of those rites in the temple, he is not liable to receive the death penalty, nor due to the performance of any of these rites in a state of ritual impurity, nor due to the performance of any of these rites as a priest lacking the requisite priestly vestments, nor due to the performance of any of these services without the washing of his hands and feet. The reason for the lack of liability is that in all these cases, additional rites must be performed in order to complete the service. One is liable for performing the service outside the temple, or performing the service as a non-priest in a state of ritual impurity, only when performing a ritual that completes the service. Ha-mekatir chayev ma'elav misa lo v'hazara. From the Braita, one may infer, but one who burns the offering on the altar in one of these circumstances, including a state of ritual impurity, is liable. What, is it not teaching that he is liable to receive death at the hand of heaven? And there is proof from the Braita to resolve Rav Acha bar Huna's dilemma. Dilemma. The Gemara rejects that proof. No, he is liable for violating a prohibition without the punishment of death. Elazar nami lazare v'chasiv ve'azar hakarev yumas ha k'de'isa v'ha k'de'isa. The Gemara asks, but according to that understanding, as for the non-priest who is mentioned in the Braita together with the priest who performs the temple service in a state of impurity, is he too liable for violating a prohibition, and not death if he burns the offering on the altar? But isn't it written, and the non-priest who approaches shall be put to death? Numbers 18:7. The Gemara answers, do not extrapolate the liability of a non-priest from the liability of a ritually impure priest, as this case of ritual impurity is as it is, and that case of a non-priest is as it is. Each situation is discussed independently. Miklal diotze k'voilel lav namilo v'yatanya zol diotze k'voilel v'nayin tamalom kadoshim yu v'lo yichalelu minarabonon nikol asmach v'yamo. The Gemara asks, is that to say, by inference, that a priest who pours oil onto a meal offering, and one who mixes the oil into the meal offering in a state of ritual impurity does not violate even a prohibition? But isn't it taught at Braita from where is a prohibition against pouring oil and against mixing oil in a state of ritual impurity derived? It is derived from a verse, as the verse states, they shall be sacred to their God, and they shall not profane the name of their God. For the fire offerings of the Lord, the bread of their God they offer. Leviticus 21:6. The Gemara answers, no proof may be cited from that verse as the prohibition against performing temple rites that do not complete the service in a state of impurity is by rabbinic law, and the verse is a mere support, not a Torah prohibition. The Gemara raises an objection from Braita to Sefta Zvachim 12:17. And these are they who are liable to receive death at the hand of heaven. Among those enumerated is an impure individual who performed the temple service, the Gemara concludes, this is a conclusive refutation of the opinion of Rav Sheshet and proof that an impure individual who performs the temple service is liable to receive death at the hand of heaven. And young priests and zealots may kill only one who is liable to receive death at the hand of heaven. Gufa ve'elu shebemisa oichel es hatevel v'choyen tameh she'achel tu'en tehoyer v'zor she'achel es ha'truma v'zor she'shimesh v'zor she'shimesh v'tvoyoim she'shimesh v'chos begadim v'chos ha'kapare v'shlo rachas yadayim raglayim u'shisuye yayin u'piroi rosh. In order to discuss the matter itself, the Gemara cites the Tosefta, and these are they who are liable to receive death at the hand of heaven: one who partakes of untithed produce, and a ritually impure priest who partook of ritually pure truma, and a non-priest who partook of truma, and a non-priest who performed the temple service, and a ritually impure priest who performed the temple service, and a priest who was ritually impure who immersed that day and is waiting for nightfall for the purification process to be completed, who performed the temple service, and a priest lacking the requisite priestly vestments, and a priest who has not yet brought an atonement offering to complete his purification process as a leper or zav, and a priest who did not wash his hands and feet before beginning the temple service, and priests who performed the temple service while intoxicated with wine, and priests who performed the temple service with overgrown hair on their heads. Aval orel ve'oinin ve'yoshev einan b'misa ela b'azore balmum Rabbi Yomi b'misa v'chamam b'azore. The Brisa continues, but a priest who performs the temple service while uncircumcised, or as an acute mourner on the day that one of his close relatives dies, or a priest who performs the temple service while seated, are not punished with death at the hand of heaven. Rather, they are liable for violating a prohibition. With regard to a blemished priest who performs the temple service, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says he is punished with death at the hand of heaven. As the rabbis say, he is liable only for violating prohibition. As the Torah states, the halacha only in the case of one who misuses consecrated property unwittingly. There is a dispute with regard to one who intentionally performed an action of misuse of consecrated property. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi says he is punished with death at the hand of heaven, and the rabbis say he is liable only for violating a prohibition. האויכל את התבל מנולן דובר שפום משום רבי אליעזר מנהל האויכל את התבל שוביסה שוביסה תכסיב לא יחלוש את קודשי בני ישראל אשר יריבו לשם ועתידים לתרום ככתוב לדבר. The Gemara elaborates, it was taught in Braita that one who partakes of untithed produce is liable to receive death at the hand of heaven. The Gemara asks, from where do we derive this halacha? The Gemara answers, as Shmuel says, in the name of Rabbi Eliezer, from where is it derived that one who partakes of untithed produce is punishable with death at the hands of heaven? It is derived from a verse, as it is written, they shall not desecrate the sacred items of the children of Israel, which they will set apart to the Lord, Leviticus 22:15. From the fact that it is formulated in the future tense, which they will set apart, it is clear that the verse is speaking of items that are destined to be separated in the future, meaning untithed produce from which truma and tithes will be separated. V'yalev chilul mitruma ma lahalma misa avkama misa, and the Tana derives the punishment by means of verbal analogy. The term desecration written with regard to untithed produce is derived from the term derivation written with regard to an impure priest who partakes in truma, Leviticus 22:9. Just as there with regard to truma, he is punished with death at the hand of heaven, so too with regard to untithed produce, he is punished with death at the hand of heaven. Okay. V'neilef chilu chilu minoisal. Man had mekores avkan mekores. The more challenges, and let us derive the punishment by means of a different verbal analogy. Derive the term of desecration, written with regard to untithed produce, from the term of desecration with regard to meat left over from an offering after the time allotted for its consumption. See Leviticus 19:6 and 8. Just as there with regard to notar, he is punished with karet, so to here with regard to untithed produce, he is punished with karet. Mistavra, mitruma havielaf, shikein truma chutza aretz, chutzra mirabim peiros, pigul venotar. The Gemara answers, it is reasonable to say that he should have derived the punishment for partaking of untithed produce from truma, as there are many elements common to truma and untithed produce. Unlike notar, they are germane to the halachot of truma. They are not, in effect, outside of Eretz Yisrael. Both of them can be permitted as an impure priest can immerse and partake of truma, and untithed produce can become permitted by taking truma and tithes. In both cases, the term of desecration is formulated in the plural. With regard to notar, is formulated in the singular. Both apply to produce, and neither in the halacha of an offering that was sacrificed with the intent to consume it after its designated time, which is pigul, nor the halacha of notar apply in either case. Adirabe. The Gemara rejects that conclusion. On the contrary, Minoser have leile melaf. Shekain pasul ein lo heter memikve. Hanach nafishan lavina hanach nafishan. Lavina omar chil darav ben adiv. The Gemara rejects that conclusion. On the contrary, you should derive the punishment for partaking of the untithed produce from notar, as there are elements common to notar and untithed produce. Both cases relate to the unfitness of the food, while in the case of an impure individual partaking of truma, it is the person who is unfit, and in both cases there is no permission granted by means of immersion in the ritual bath. While in the case of an impure individual partaking of truma, the immersion is effective. The Gemara answers, those elements common to truma and untithed produce are more numerous. Therefore, that is the preferred derivation. Ravina says, there is no need for a tally of common elements, as driving desecration in the plural means of verbal analogy from desecration in the plural is preferable. The Gemara continues to analyze the brayta. From where do we derive that an impure priest who partook of pure truma is liable to receive death at the hand of heaven? It is derived, as Shmuel says, from where is it derived with regard to an impure priest who partakes of pure truma, that he is punished with death at the hand of heaven? It is derived from a verse, as it is written with regard to a priest who partakes of truma, and they shall keep my charge, lest they bear a sin for it and die therein. If they desecrate it, I am the Lord. Leviticus 22, verse 9. Tahoira in Tamea lo Damar Shmuel. Amar Eliezer. Ina in the Kohen Tameh she'achal truma. Tameh she'ena misa. Truma Tameh she'ena misa shenemar umesu bo ki yechalelu. The Gemara asks, from where is it derived that partaking of virtually impure truma, yes, the impure priest is liable, but the partaking of impure truma, no, the priest is not liable? Impure truma is derived, as Shmuel says, or Rabbi Eliezer says, from where is it derived that an impure priest who partakes of impure truma is not punished with death at the hand of heaven? If it is derived from a verse, as it is stated in that verse, and died therein if they desecrate it.